I'm a yogi. I'd love to have you join me. Hit the subscribe button, tap the bell for notifications, and share this video with a friend. Thank you. We are back with another ritual practice. Today is the follow-up video to the Abhyanga video I posted previously before we focused on the lower body, and today I focused on the upper body in my self-massage oil practice. Now again, like I talked about in the previous video, this oil for my Abhyanga or my self-massage is a blend of essential oils, and primarily castor oil is the carrier oil that I like to use. Due to the viscosity of castor oil, it's a really thick, almost syrupy type of oil, and it gives me almost like texture on my skin to work with as I inhale into tension and exhale, releasing tension and extending my spine. When we're talking about the upper body, I want to again mention the importance of reciprocal inhibition. I have a video on my TikTok about reciprocal inhibition, and this is a very important thing for all of us to understand. What happens to one side of the body directly affects the opposite side of that body. So if you consider the fact that we are standing most of the day or sitting upright, and so gravity has its free reign on our head, neck, and our shoulders. On top of that, we generally look down throughout our days, whether we're looking at a computer, we're looking at a phone, we're looking at a book, whatever it is. Typically, our society and our culture typically directs our gaze down for the primary portion of our day. And so taking time to reverse that, to give those muscles time to rest, where they're not being strained, is incredibly important, not only for our shoulders and our neck, but also for our chest. Our scalenes, which are neck muscles, are incredibly important in our breathing process, and they're actually connected right to our clavicles. As we inhale, our chest is actually supposed to press forward, expanding our chest all the way up to our throat. Now, when we are unable to do this because we're rounded forward, we start to just take small, shallow breaths into the belly. This can actually exacerbate our anxiety and irritate problems that might already exist, like GERD or acid reflux. Now, reciprocal inhibition. We understand that what happens to the front side of the body is going to affect the back side of the body. What happens to the top of the body is going to affect the bottom of the body. So if my head and my neck is tight, maybe my feet and my ankles are also tight, or maybe my low back is also tight in those connecting spaces. So taking this time to recognize that feeling a pain or a discomfort or a sensation in one space of my body does not necessarily mean that that space has been hurt or has been injured, but it could be pointing to in my posture or issues with my breathing. Maybe I'm not breathing deep enough. Maybe I'm not getting enough oxygen into my body. Maybe my lungs have been suffocated for a couple hours and I've just been breathing into my belly. That's why this massage is so helpful. I can press my fingers into those tight tissues and actually feel the tissues expand with oxygen on the inhale. On the exhale, I can feel those tissues soften and melt away. And oftentimes, after 2 or 3 breaths, I feel like a totally different person. I feel like a different structure. I feel like there's more space inside of me where space belongs. And I feel that my ribs are supported. I feel that my shoulder blades are balanced. And I feel like my head properly sits between my shoulder blades. Now, all of these different pressure points took me a while to learn. It's not something that I learned overnight. And if I'm being honest with you, it's not something that I bought a lot of books about and studied a whole lot. I did watch a lot of YouTube videos about the nervous system. I studied a lot with people like Alicia over at Mobility Mastery and Dr. Mandel over at the Motivational Doc. I also really like the Upright Health channel. But at the end of the day, the way that I learned was by practicing. Because we can learn where these acupressure points are medically, but if we don't tune into the sensation that we want to feel in our bodies, if we don't take initiative to recognize and almost separate sensations and their meanings, all of that knowledge is just for show. It's not actual understanding. That knowledge does not become understanding until we work with it, until we practice it, until it resonates in our bodies. So as I teach, I care a lot less about the exact places to direct you to touch yourself on your own body. Instead, I want you to tune in to sensation. What you're looking for on the inhale is tension. What feels tight and stuck? Press into it. Direct the breath there with the mind. Feel the expansion as breath comes into the lungs. Maybe consider curiosity. What types of sensations could I be feeling? Sometimes I get this rush that's the opposite of pins and needles. It's almost as if someone has turned on a hose and now liquid can flow. Oftentimes I feel it in very stuck spaces like my hip joints or in my shoulders. And it's fascinating when I can really tune in and feel that sensation of my body and my cells replenishing themselves. When I bring my body into this type of alignment, it feels right. Now, I can tell you that I have been in many classes and I have listened to thousands of cues, and I have tried and I have pressed and I have pushed and I have failed. Why is that? Well, possibly we each experience sensation differently in our own bodies, and maybe it is difficult for us to always understand what someone else is talking about, what the teacher is talking about. And maybe when they understand and we don't, we feel this divide. And that's not the point of exercise. That is not the point of fitness. It's not to divide us or to classify us into who is acceptable and who is not acceptable, who is healthy and who is not healthy. The point is to know ourselves. The point is to understand ourselves. Because what's more important, not can I, but I can. If we do not know ourselves, that nagging, can I, self-doubt will constantly be there. When we begin to know ourselves, when we begin to interact with the sensations in our bodies, we begin to tune in to what feels safe, what feels loving, what feels scary, and what feels strengthening, what feels fortifying, what feels relieving. Girl, we can take on the world. When we know ourselves entering a situation, we run the situation. I love y'all. Thanks for tuning in today.